Is Ethereum more centralized now? Let's bite into that. Hello, friends. Welcome to Block Bytes. Ever since Ethereum transitioned into a proof of stake network, people within the blockchain community have started to worry about centralization. Whether it be hosting of nodes on AWS or staking, or the more recent centralization in MEV. Why is this happening to Ethereum? And what are these vectors of centralization? In this video, I will try to get to the bottom of this subject. Ethereum was launched in 2014 as a step up from Bitcoin, where Bitcoin is a currency which can only be bought and sold. Ethereum is a smart contracts platform, which promises a lot more than simple buying and selling of coins. Since its move to proof of stake, a lot has been said about how centralized Ethereum has become. It is true that there are forces of centralization putting pressure from all sides on this layer 1 protocol. The reason why this is happening on Ethereum and not on any other layer 1 is simply because it is the largest and the most popular layer 1 blockchain. If you want to learn more about this, I will link my article on this subject. Let's quantify this assertion. Ethereum has more than 440,000 validators on its network, far more than any other blockchain network. It has the second highest market cap amongst all blockchains. 58% of all DeFi value is on Ethereum. It has a very steady level of activity and transactions compared to other blockchains where it is quite volatile. Developer activity is the largest on Ethereum, with the average of 1,900 weekly developers working on the chain. No wonder it is also seeing the bulk of the issues and problems around centralization compared to other blockchains. Let's look at some of the most common vectors of centralization currently on Ethereum first, and then we will look at what Ethereum and its community is doing to address these. Number 1, centralization in staking. Lido is a centralized liquid staking protocol currently controlling 33% of all ETH staked on the Beacon chain. Now, as you all know, staking of ETH tokens is critical to the security and stability of the Ethereum network. And so we have these validators who have joined the network by staking 32 ETH tokens or more, and in return, they get rewarded with ETH tokens. Lido is one such validator, but since it controls 1/3 of all staked ETH, it is considered a vector of centralization on Ethereum. Second, centralization in node hosting. Ethereum is a blockchain network, a P2P interconnected collection of computers called nodes. These nodes could be a home PC or a cloud server running on AWS or Google. The distribution of these nodes, however, is severely skewed in the favor of Amazon Web Service, as shown here. More than 60% of all hosted nodes on Ethereum are on AWS. And not only that, there is a very high centrality in the physical location of these nodes, with USA and Germany accounting for more than 55% of these nodes. In the past, we have seen outages on AWS that has affected users on BlockFi and Coinbase. And so this is another big vector of centralization. Third, centralization in MEV. This is a new vector that was highlighted last month. For those who do not know MEV, it stands for maximum extractable value and is referred to the additional value that can be extracted by privileged actors like validators on a blockchain network. If you are interested in learning more about MEV, then I'll link my article in the description. This particular vector is attributed to flashbots, which is a protocol that allows validators to get a large proportion of the MEV as against the bots, which in turn incentivizes these validators to keep securing the ETH network. The downside of this was that as more and more validators started using the MEV Boost product from flashbots, it was observed that a lot of the Tornado Cash's transactions were being censored by these validators because flashbots had to comply with the OFAC ruling as they are based and registered in the USA. The graphic by MEV Watch clearly shows that a majority of blocks created by Ethereum validators are not including the Tornado Cash transactions. Needless to say that this is really bad for the blockchain. And we do not know how or when this will stop. Fourth, centralization in layer 2. Layer 2s are very important for Ethereum. Since Ethereum was not designed to be scalable, layer 2 protocol like Starkware, Arbitrum, and Optimism fill that gap. These protocols run on top of Ethereum and provide scalability and transaction speed for the apps. A recent CoinDesk article by Sam Kessler highlighted centralization issues in two of the most prominent layer 2 solutions, Arbitrum and Optimism. For those who are not aware, Arbitrum and Optimism work on a technology called optimistic rollups. What they do is that they roll up a large number of transactions performed on their network into one big chunk, and then in the end, this chunk is fed to the Ethereum network for final processing, along with something called as a fraud proof. This fraud proof is used by Ethereum to ascertain if the transaction contained within the rollup can be added to its ledger or not. In Arbitrum, this fraud proof is created by a pre-selected group of validators, and in Optimism, it is currently absent. This dependence on a select group of hand-picked actors is a definite centralization vector for Arbitrum. Not just that, the sequencers that these protocols use are also shared amongst both of these protocols. This is also true for Starkware, which is a zero-knowledge rollup. These are some of the very important vectors of centralization, and no wonder they have prompted a lot of discussion in the community. Let's now switch gears to see what steps are being taken to counteract these forces of centralization. Let's go to the first one, staking. It may appear that Lido is one entity that controls 33% of all staked ETH, but in reality, it is a collection of 29 different companies or groups that run their validators. This means that Lido is actually much more decentralized than popular exchanges like Coinbase or Kraken. Not only that, From a governance point of view, Lido is a DAO, which means that decision making has to undergo voting. For any proposal to pass, it needs to be accepted by a majority of these 29 groups first. Again, this is unlike centralized exchanges like Coinbase, where the decision making is in the hand of those running the company. There is more. Lido is working on two big changes. First, it is working on a proposal which will grant veto rights to all staked token holders, which means if you have staked ETH in your wallet, then you get to veto any decision made by the DAO. This is going to make governance even more decentralized than what it is at the moment. And second, it is looking at ways to get more operators and solo validators into its current pool of 29 entities. Again, a step towards more decentralization. Besides the Lido, there are other decentralized liquid staking protocols also on Ethereum. Rocket Pool is one such protocol. Rocket Pool has already reached the end stage where Lido wants to go in terms of the number of entities in it. It has more than 1,500 validators, although one is not sure if these are all distinct entities, as one person or group can have multiple addresses. Both Lido and Rocket Pool are actively working to counter the vector of centralization and staking on Ethereum. Let's move on to node hosting. Node hosting centralization is a difficult vector to address. Ethereum is a software and it requires hardware to run. If people or companies prefer to use AWS cloud for running their Ethereum nodes, then it is their decision and something that Ethereum cannot directly influence. In the US, AWS is currently providing its blockchain node service only out of its data center in Virginia. This is the reason why we see such a big concentration of ETH nodes in this state. The decision to diversify to other parts of the country is a demand and supply equation and completely under AWS's control. But there was recent news that Google has announced its new blockchain node engine. This is good, as it could help address this centralization concern, as now there is an alternative to AWS. On the other hand, recent news from a different blockchain, Solana, shows that Hetzner, a cloud service provider based out of Germany, which currently houses 11% of the ETH nodes, has removed thousands of validators running on its network. This certainly is not good for Solana, but will they do the same for Ethereum? Somehow I feel that is not going to be the case, but time will tell. Finally, Ethereum itself is also working towards reducing the hardware requirements of a node. Their entire roadmap, of which Merge was a part, centers around making nodes easy to run. The aim is to have even mobile phones run nodes for Ethereum. This, however, as we all know, will take time. Moving on to MEV, Flashbots, which controls a big chunk of the MEV market at present, came out with a series of short-term plans to address the concerns raised by the community. The most important one of these was that they will open source the relay service, which means anyone could potentially use their source code to create an alternative to MEV Boost. And in a few days of this happening, we see that a new relay service provider by the name Relayor has entered this space. In just a few days of its starting, it has already captured 0.67% of the market share, which is not a lot, but it is a great start. As a long-term step, Flashbots is already working on a decentralized version of MEV Boost called Suave. Not a lot is known about this at the moment, and I will share it with you guys as more information start to appear on this. Besides Flashbots, other projects like CowSwap are also making a mark in the MEV market. CowSwap is an interesting project where instead of incentivizing the validators, in case of Flashbots, they incentivize the end users. This is good news, as more competition will promote more decentralization. And lastly, about decentralization in layer 2s, Sam in his article goes on to mention that both Arbitrum and Optimism are working on their fraud-proof system, which will be ready soon. Starkware is also taking several steps towards decentralization. So here are my final thoughts. It is true that there are concerns around centralization in Ethereum. And in a way, it makes sense, as where else will it happen if not the biggest and the most used blockchain at present? The good thing is that the people concerned know about this and are already working towards taking the appropriate steps. I feel that we are in a pivotal point in this industry. As more and more such problems unearth and solutions get created, it will add robustness to the Ethereum ecosystem. Something I feel will also be beneficial for other blockchains as they get to grapple with their own vectors of centralization. I hope you liked this video. Relevant links are in the description. Consider liking and sharing this video, and I will see you with another fresh bite.